Then, we have only just begun. Two minds collide. The room fell silent again. Jalil sat with his head lowered. He wasn't resisting anymore. He was fighting inside. The door opened. This time, the sound was different. Heavy, certain. Jalil lifted his head. Asadbek stepped in. No one spoke, but everything changed. The air thickened. The room felt smaller. The man in the shadow smiled faintly. Finally. Asadbek looked at him. Did you wait long? You're worth it. Silence. This wasn't a conversation. This was a measurement. Who breaks first? Who makes the first mistake? Asadbek stepped forward slowly. He glanced at Jalil, but said nothing. A signal. I see you, but right now, you're not the focus. The man chuckled. Loyalty. Such an interesting thing. No response. I broke him, the man said. Just a matter of time. Asadbek tilted his head slightly. No. Silence. You scared him, he continued. You didn't break him. That hit. The man's eyes narrowed. Does it matter? Asadbek stepped closer. More than you think. Silence. A scared man can still choose, he said quietly. A broken one cannot. Jalil slowly lifted his head. Those words reached him. The man noticed. The balance was shifting. Interesting, he whispered. So you still believe in something? Asadbek's gaze didn't move. I don't believe. A pause. I calculate. And this time, his voice was colder. War of words. 3 minds in one room, but only 2 were fighting. Jalil was now just watching his own life. The man began to walk slowly. Let's play a game. Asadbek remained silent. A simple one. Questions and answers. He turned to Jalil. Does he live or die? Silence. Jalil's heart pounded. The rules are simple, the man continued. You answer correctly, he lives. Still no reaction. If you are wrong, a faint smile. You lose him yourself. Silence. A trap, but unavoidable. First question, the man said. He stepped closer. Eyes locked onto Asadbek. When was the first time you were afraid? Silence. Not a simple question. This was intrusion. Asadbek didn't answer. Answer, the man said colder. Jalil whispered. Aka? Asadbek closed his eyes. For a moment, he saw it. Dark night. A lonely boy. Fear. He opened his eyes. I was never afraid. Silence. The man smiled. Lie. Suddenly, Jalil shouted. No! The room shook. Everyone turned. Jalil breathed hard. He was afraid, he said. But he didn't run. Silence. That changed everything. The man slowly nodded. So, not finished yet. He stepped back. His eyes darkened. Now the real game begins. The light flickered. And for the first time, no one knew who was winning. The truth in the shadows. Silence, but not pressure. This was something else. The calm before collapse. The man stepped back. His smile faded. Interesting. Asadbek didn't move. You still think, the man said slowly, that this game belongs to me? Silence. Dangerous words. Asadbek narrowed his eyes. Then what? The man didn't smile. Not this time. It means you're too late. Jalil's chest tightened. Something inside him though. Too late for what? Asadbek asked coldly. The man turned slightly. Because the game already started. Silence. Then, and you didn't start it. The air grew heavy. Assad Beg stepped forward. Who did? The man slowly turned his head. His eyes locked onto Jalil. Silence. Long, heavy. Jalil forgot to breathe. No, he whispered. The man nodded. Yes. Now Assad Beg looked at him too. That look was not a question. It was judgment. The blow from within. That's a lie, Jalil said. His voice trembled, but he didn't look away. I never stop. Silence. Do you remember that night? The man asked. Jalil closed his eyes. Dark street, money, a choice. No? Yes, the man said coldly. You chose. The memories returned, running, voices behind him, money in his hand, and the decision. I had no choice, Jalil shouted. Silence. Assad Beg didn't speak. That was the worst part. The man stepped closer. Everyone says that. Then quietly, but they still choose. Jalil looked at Assad Beg. The words failed. Assad Beg just watched. No emotion. That look broke him. The weight of silence. No one spoke. The room held its breath. The light flickered faintly, shadows trembling across the walls. Jalil was no longer standing. He had fallen. Not physically, inside. I didn't betray you, he whispered. Silence. I just tried to save myself. The words escaped, and everything changed. Assad Beg slowly closed his eyes. For a moment. Just a moment. Then opened them. It doesn't matter. Silence. 2 words. A sentence, a verdict. Jalil's eyes widened. Aka, betrayal is always a choice. A pause. And you chose? A faint chuckle came from the shadows. The game wasn't over, but the loser already was. The decision. Jalil was on his knees now. His breathing uneven, his gaze broken. Assad Beg stood still. No anger, no rage. Something worse. Coldness. The man in the shadows stepped back. Even he understood. That was no longer his game. This moment belonged to Assad Beg. Aka! Jalil's voice trembled. No answer. I made a mistake. Silence. I was afraid. The word lingered. Heavy. Assad Beg lowered his head slightly. Inside, an echo. I was afraid. Another voice answered. So were you. For a moment, he saw it again. A dark night. A lonely child. A choice. What's the difference? He opened his eyes. There was a difference. A crucial one. The line. Assad Beg stepped forward. Slow. Measured. Every step heavy. Jalil lifted his head. Hope and fear mixed in his eyes. Aka! Assad Beg stopped in front of him. Looked directly at him. Long, deep. You were afraid, he said quietly. Jalil nodded. Yes. Silence. So was I. The room froze. Jalil's eyes widened. Then he couldn't finish. Assad Beg continued. But I never betrayed myself. Silence. That was the line. Something inside Jalil collapsed completely. Aka, please. Assad Beg turned his face away for a second. That second could have been mercy. But it passed. Cold justice. The man in the shadows smiled faintly. This was what he had been waiting for. Assad Beg raised his hand slightly. The room went still. There is a law here, he said quietly, and it doesn't change. Jalil held his breath. Loyalty is not a choice, Assad Beg continued. It's a boundary. Silence. And once you cross it, he stopped, closed his eyes. 1 second, 2, then opened them. There is no way back. Jalil didn't scream. He understood. This was the end. Aka, he said softly, not a plea anymore. A farewell. Asad Beg didn't move, and that was the harshest punishment. The quiet end. The light flickered again. Shadows danced along the walls. No screams, no chaos. Everything too quiet. And that silence was terrifying. The man whispered from the darkness. So, you chose to? No answer. Asad Beg just stood there. But inside, something changed forever. This wasn't victory. This was loss. The void. Night swallowed the city once again. The streets were the same. The lights were the same. Nothing had changed. And yet, everything had. Asad Beg stood by the window. Below him, people moved as always, laughing, talking, leaving, and he just watched. Silence inside him, but not peace. Emptiness. A voice rose from within. Is it over? No answer. Then another. No, it's just begun. Asad Beg closed his eyes. Jalil's voice echoed in his mind. Aka. His eyes snapped open. Enough! But the voice didn't fade. You chose to. Silence. He let out a quiet breath. A tired smile touched his lips. Yes? A different man. The door opened. Men entered the room. Their eyes lowered. None dared to meet his gaze. It's done, one of them said. Asad Beg nodded slightly. No, he replied quietly. Order has been restored. Silence. What now? They asked. Asad Beg didn't look away from the window. Nothing? Confusion. We wait. For what? He slowly turned. His eyes were different now. No emotion, no hesitation, just something colder. Turn. They didn't understand, but they felt it. This was no longer the same man. Shaytanat. The city lived on, as if nothing had happened. But in truth, everything had. One man was gone, one decision was made, one line was crossed. And most importantly, one soul had changed. Asad Beg stood in front of the glass again. This time, he wasn't looking at the city. He was looking at himself. A silent question formed. Who have you become? No answer. Because the answer was clear. He whispered. Shaytanat isn't out there. He closed his eyes. It begins within.